Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. A very happy Friday to all of you, and a big thank you to my newest Patreon supporters, Christian, Laura, Elmer, Scott, John, and Jim. Thank you guys very, very much. You are too kind. Getting right into it today, so Elon gave us a quick announcement that Giga Berlin is going to have a county fair and a factory tour on October 9th. Now that video clip that you started to see, fair warning, it is painful to watch, it's very shaky, so maybe for the next 45 seconds, close your eyes and just listen to what Elon says here.
But he seems great.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you think he could be the next chancellor?
I mean, I suppose so. I mean, that's for the German people to judge.
Okay.
Of course. He seems like a great guy, from what I can tell.
Does Germany still rocks?
Yes. Deutschland rocks.
When do you expect the final approval?
Sorry?
When do we expect the final approval for this factory?
Well, I don't know. We're hoping to get the final approval in October.
Okay.
Oktoberfest.
Thank you.
Oktoberfest approval.
Okay.
So in case you couldn't hear him, he said he's hoping for Oktoberfest approval for Giga Berlin. Now, real Oktoberfest, I believe, is actually the last 2 weeks of September. And sadly, I think it's been canceled in Germany this year due to the virus. So there's that. But what I'm taking from this is Elon is expecting actual approval for the factory sometime in October, which means, yes, we could start to see production at Giga Berlin sometime in the middle or back half of October. And with regard to that factory tour, which hopefully somebody will record and give us some footage, priority is for residents of Brandenburg and Berlin, but it is also open to the general public. So now in terms of Tesla entering India, apparently India is asking Tesla to ramp up local procurement and share detailed manufacturing plans before the car makers' demand for lower taxes on EVs are actually considered. And the departments have also asked Tesla for its thoughts on importing fully built cars versus the knockdown units or partially built vehicles, which also attract a lower import levy. And these knockdown units are basically when an auto manufacturer takes the parts of the vehicle and ships the parts and imports the parts, and then the final product is actually assembled where they are shipped. Tesla claimed it has already procured components worth $100 million, and Tesla pledged to make significant direct investments in sales, service, and charging infrastructure, and they'll evaluate broader investments in manufacturing once it enters the world's second most populous nation. And basically this whole back and forth is because Tesla wants to be able to test the waters in the Indian market, and with the high import taxes, it makes it very difficult for Tesla to do. So ultimately, these negotiations are still ongoing and mostly private. So I want to give a quick shout out to Derek Elliott. He left a very insightful comment on a video a few days ago, and he pointed out a page on the impact report that is definitely not getting enough attention. So I want to share it with you guys today because Fred at Electric actually happened to mention this, so I figured now would be a good time. But basically there are some new allowances for payloads for semi-trucks in the US and the EU, so let's go to the impact report and start there. Very interesting stat. So combination trucks, of which the vast majority are semi-trucks, in the US account for just 1.1% of the total fleet of vehicles on the road. But because these trucks are basically so inefficient due to their weight and their heavy utilization, they actually account for 17% of all US vehicle emissions. So 1% of the fleet in terms of number of vehicles accounts for 17% of all vehicle emissions. So with both the US and the EU having approved higher weight allowances for electric heavy-duty trucks, we expect the payload to be at least as high as it would be for a diesel truck. This is a very important thing. So in the EU, the electric semi-trucks are allowed to be 2 tons or 4,400 pounds heavier than their diesel equivalents, and in the US, that allowance is now 0.9 tons or an extra 2,000 pounds. So when fully loaded, the Tesla Semi should be able to achieve over 500 miles of range, achieved through aerodynamics and highly efficient motors. This truck will be able to reach an efficiency of over 0.5 miles per kilowatt hour. I will explain that momentarily. And if you look at fueleconomy.gov for a 2020 Tesla Model 3 long-range vehicle, you can see this 26 kilowatt hours per 100 miles metric. So basically this is something you can add to the MPGe, or the miles per gallon equivalent, that people are are using for electric vehicles and comparison shopping. Basically, the kilowatt hour per 100 mile is how much electricity is used to travel 100 miles. So in this case, the lower that first number, the better, because that means you're using less electricity to actually travel 100 miles. So just to give you frame of reference and context, with the Model 3, we're looking at about 0.26 kilowatt hours for 1 mile of travel on the Model 3, and Tesla is saying that the Semi will be around 0.5 kilowatt hours per 1 mile of travel. And so we take the 0.5 miles per kilowatt hour that the Semi is expected to get, and a Model 3 battery pack is about 1,000 pounds in weight, and we'll say on average they're 75 kilowatt hours per pack. Now comparing the Semi to another EV Semi, the e-Cascadia, which has a 0.526 miles per kilowatt hour, and that truck actually has a 475 kilowatt hour pack and a 250 mile range. So focusing on the US with that additional 2,000 pounds in weight allowance, we're talking roughly 2 Model 3 battery packs, which would be an extra 150 kilowatt hours, if of course Tesla decided to just add more weight into the battery pack rather than allowing more payload. So if they were able to get an extra 150 kilowatt hours with this new allowance of the weight limit, that would be multiplied by 0.5, and I shouldn't need to do the math. That is an extra 75 miles of range. And in terms of battery pack size, Tesla has said that they are going to have a version of the Semi that goes 500 miles. And so for Tesla to actually achieve that 500 miles of range with this expected efficiency, they would need a 1,000 kilowatt hour pack, roughly speaking, to achieve that 500 miles of range. And if you're a little confused, you can look at the e-Cascadia and just say their 475 kilowatt hour pack goes 250 miles. So if you double the range, that would be 475 times 2, and you're looking at roughly 950 kilowatt hour pack to be on par with the e-Cascadia efficiency. But look, just to simplify all of this, the real takeaway here is that these new allowances for semis in the US, that 2,000 pounds, in the EU, that 4,400 pounds, basically means that these electric semis will be able to compete with their ICE counterparts in terms of payload and max capacity much better. So moving on, CATL is actually selling some shares to raise some money to, yes, expand their battery production. So this is great news. CATL is looking to sell $9 billion in stock with a B to increase its manufacturing capacity. And this sale will be made available to large investors. And of course, the funds are expected to be used to build several new factories for battery production. CATL, currently the world's largest lithium-ion battery manufacturing company, has been supplying Tesla cells since January of 2020. And for this offering, apparently CATL has set a limit of up to 35 investors from asset management and insurance companies. And just a reminder, Tesla and CATL currently have a supply deal lined up through 2025, and the funding from the stock sale could be used to build that potential battery plant that was rumored to be coming near Giga Shanghai. So of course, CATL capitalizing on the opportunity and the stock performance, and they'll use this money to expand battery capacity. Great for Tesla, great for the EV movement at scale. So Jeff tweeted a picture of the inside of a hydrogen car versus the inside of a Tesla. So here's the picture of the inside of a hydrogen car, which I thought was an interesting photo. And of course, the inside of a Tesla. Now I'm showing you this because I want to show you some comments that Elon made about the hydrogen car situation. Yes, this is from a few years ago, but I think it's still relevant.
I don't want to turn this into a debate on hydrogen fuel cells because I just think that they're extremely silly. And the people have published, there's multiple sort of rebuttals of it online. I mean, it's just very difficult to make hydrogen and store it and use it in a car. Hydrogen is an energy storage mechanism. It's not a source of energy. So you have to get that hydrogen from somewhere. If you get that hydrogen from water, so you're splitting H2O, the electrolysis is extremely inefficient as an energy process. If you say took a solar panel and used the energy from that solar panel to just charge a battery pack directly, compared to try to split water, take the hydrogen, dump the oxygen, compress the hydrogen to an extremely high pressure or liquefy it, and then put it in a car and run a fuel cell, it is about half the efficiency. It's terrible. So why would you do that? It makes no sense. And then hydrogen has very low density. It's a pernicious molecule, likes to get all over the place. You get metal embrittlement from hydrogen. If you get a hydrogen leak, it's an invisible gas. You can't even tell that it's leaking. But then it's extremely flammable when it does and has an invisible flame. Hydrogen fuel cell, the best case hydrogen fuel cell doesn't win against the current case batteries. So then obviously it doesn't make sense. That will become apparent in the next few years. There's no reason for us to have this debate. I've said, my piece on this. It will be super obvious as time goes by. I don't know what we're saying.
Now, I know this is a somewhat contentious debate, but let me know which side of the argument are you on. And real quick, there is a new Tesla service center that has been approved in East Hartford, Connecticut. So the Planning and Zoning Commission has voted unanimously to approve Tesla's application to build a service center. But sadly, customers who want to buy a Tesla or parts for their Tesla still need to go out of state with these old, outdated dealership rules and such. And this new facility described in the new permit application would under no circumstances sell vehicles, parts, or any other products. It will only be servicing vehicles. But that's all for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. I hope you guys have a wonderful and safe weekend, and a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.